the Between the Ears show. I'm Schuyler Callihan, and joined with me today I've got Zach Campbell, who is back. My dude, I feels like I haven't seen you in like what, 3 weeks?
Something like that. What were we doing the last time we saw each other?
Oh, I don't know. I had to go get married, I guess. And well, we downed a few beers that weekend, didn't we?
We're totally responsible for everyone
Oh
out
yeah.
there listening.
We did nothing wrong. So we had a good time. But now we're finally getting to talk some football again. Always love talking football with you. We talk West Virginia football, basketball on the phone like 2-3 hours at a time off the air every now and then. So it's good to actually put some of these words out there so everyone else can hear what we have to say. So and I figured you'd be the perfect guy, and I'm glad you volunteered to do this week to talk about this
Absolutely.
quarterback situation for West Virginia. Garrett Greene had a hell of a day last Saturday. Coming in relief for JT Daniels, went 12 of 22 for 138 yards and a score, and also rushed for 119 yards and two scores on 14 carries. First of all, Zach, what the heck is going on with JT Daniels?
I mean, usually, like as always, I'm not going to sit here and claim like I have the answers, man. I'm watching like everyone else is, but when I look at his stats here, the regression is real. It's not up to interpretation. I mean, just in the last 2 weeks alone, he goes out and goes 8 for 22 against Iowa State for 81 yards.
It's pretty rough.
Last week, and it was more evident. I was at the game, seeing it in person. 7 for 12, 65 yards, a really bad interception in the first quarter.
Yep.
That was just it was on no one but him. Didn't handle the pressure, tried to extend the play where there wasn't one, and just coughed up a duck that fell right into horrible interception. So I don't know what the answer is. I think it's multiple factors. I don't think it's any one thing. Maybe he's hurt and it's an undisclosed injury. But the bottom line is it's objective fact that he is steadily declining in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And for a guy that started off the season so strong, it's pretty trouble.
Yeah, I mean, when I go back to the Iowa State game, the biggest thing for me in that one was just how off he was. It seemed like he was kind of out of sync with his timing, and kind of, even when you look at his feet, I know a lot of people just look at where the ball is being thrown and everything like that, but a lot of it is footwork and how your footwork is married to your arm action and your arm slot. So like if any of those things are out of order or out of whack, it's going to mess everything up with the throw. To me, in that Iowa State game, it was a lot more mechanical than anything. The Oklahoma game, from what I went back and watched, it was still some of the same things. But to me, honestly, I mean, I could be completely wrong. And this is probably something JT can only speak to, but it looked to me as if he was in his own head. And it's like that Iowa State game kind of doubled up on him and kind of got into his head, hurt his confidence a little bit. And I think when they put Garrett Greene in for that first time, it was like, oh, crap, okay. Starting to press. And you saw a lot of bad throws. Not only the interception, I think it was a third and 8, 3rd and 9.
Yeah.
He rolled out to the right, had Caden Prather wide open and threw it right at his feet. I mean, those are throws, and I think he had a screen to either Prather or James, just a quick out throw, and was 2-3 feet over the receiver's head. Just missing badly on some stuff. Like, that's just not the typical JT Daniels stuff that we've seen. But thankfully, Garrett Greene comes in and does what he did. So what were your thoughts about Garrett Greene? Because, I mean, we know the talent is there. It's just he's a raw talent. Like, there's a lot of work that has to be done for him to become a starting quarterback.
I can tell you that everything you just described, the weather didn't help. It was a cold, wet, pretty miserable day out there. The vibe in the stadium changed palpably in the second half when they decided to roll with Greene. Everything after that, like you could just tell, you could feel it, you could see it. Because Oklahoma didn't have a game plan for Garrett Greene.
Yeah.
The different dimensions that he has, I know, everyone likes to call him raw, and he still is kind of still unschooled, but talent is talent, and he has it. He has leg talent. The guy can move. It's reminiscent of Schuyler Howard, but he's a step or two faster than Schuyler Howard ever was.
Yeah.
And he's got the arm talent. He can sling it. For not being a big guy, he can put the ball downfield and with zip on it. And beyond that, you could tell, like, and someone else pointed this out to me, like his body language, his demeanor, his physical energy, you could tell he's completely invested in the game. He's completely hyped up, and it seemed to be generative with the guys out there, because everyone else seemed to kind of, the body language indicated, okay, we're back in this. That's leadership. That's buzz. I know we don't, by and large this season, there's not been a lot of, hey, I'll give credit to Neal Brown and the staff, but credit to them for saying, we got to shake it up, and we're going to go with this guy, and we're going to lean on him. So credit to them for making that change, because they could have very well have just, hit autopilot, kept JT in there, and continued to watch him struggle.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to say that quarterbacks like JT and his demeanor can't work, because obviously they have. There's a lot of mellowed out guys that are just really good, and they don't need to be that energizer bunny that kind of Garrett Greene brings to the table. But for a team that's struggling to get anything going offensively, and a team that has struggled to find ways to get wins, me, I'm just speaking for me. If I was on that field and I had JT Daniels out there, and it was just kind of like, okay, here's the play, moving on to the next one, here's the play, like, and there's not much energy there. But when you have Garrett Greene out there, and that energy is during the play, before the play, after the play, like, to me, that makes me want to go harder, right? Especially knowing that, hey, we're struggling, but this guy's still bringing a ton of energy to the field. Like, to me, I want to play for that guy. Not that I wouldn't want to play for JT, but do you feel like maybe that difference in energy is just maybe something that they need?
Yeah, I think, because at this point it's like, I hate to be this fatalist, but what do they have to lose? You're sitting on 3 wins going into the game Saturday. You won because you made a change, because you switched it up. And if stuff's not working, and I don't need to school anyone on the definition of insanity, because we all know what that is, you have to shake it up. You have to make a change. And it's not an indictment of someone as a person, or, hey, we don't think you're a good guy, or we don't like you. It's, we got to win.
Right.
And we have to do what we have to do to win. And we've seen it before with this program. Every program in the country has a story where, hey, they pulled one guy in, they put another guy in, and the next thing you know, the trajectory of the program's changed. It takes one change like that to lead to something meteoric. And I'm not saying that, Garrett Greene's game against Oklahoma is going to propel West Virginia to be in a top 10 team next year or anything like that. It's way too early to tell, but it made an immediate difference, and it's significant. Now, how that carries into this weekend against Kansas State, that's another story.
Yeah, speaking of, that's a great segue into Neal Brown. So let's go ahead and listen into the head coach as he talks about how he's going to handle the quarterback situation heading into this week.
Probably won't name one, Greg. I will say this: Garrett earned the opportunity to play more. But we'll get both those guys ready, and we've been getting Nico more snaps too, because he's got some games now because he doesn't have to redshirt, and I'm impressed with how much better he's getting, and so we've been getting him some reps as well. But Garrett earned the opportunity to play more.
You see throwing Nico in there?
Yeah, potentially. I'm not saying no, and we've been getting him reps because we want to get him ready. But off Garrett's performance, he deserves to play more. But we won't name a starter going in, but he definitely deserves to play more.
All right, Zach. So Neal Brown just talked about the quarterbacks. Obviously, he's not going to name a quarterback before the game. It sounds as if Garrett Greene is going to play a little bit more, but I mean, when he says he earned the right to play more, I mean, how much more is he going to play and not start. Like it seems like it's either going to be maybe JT takes the first series or two, and then it's Garrett Greene from there, or maybe Garrett Greene does start. But he also did throw out a bit of a wild card here in that they said Nico Marchiol will be getting some reps throughout the week. So is that just kind of a gamesmanship kind of thing from Neal Brown here, and he kind of knows what they're going to do? I mean, JT Daniels is listed as a starter on the depth chart, but we all know that that doesn't mean anything these days. What do you think Neal Brown will do before we get to what we think they should do?
What I think, I think it's misdirection. I think it's gamesmanship. I mean, he has no reason to tip his hand one way or the other, right? If you've got any kind of card to play, you want to hold that close to the chest as best you can. So it's not advantageous to say we're going to start JT or we're going to start JT and then Garrett's going to get 40 snaps. And same thing with Marchiol. What does that tell you? It says he's basically telegraphing to Kansas State, be ready for any of these three quarterbacks, and they all bring something a little bit different. The thing is that you have to consider with Kansas State is that, all right, they're a 7-3 team, and they've got a pretty good defense.
Yeah. It's a nasty front.
They're not a bad defensive team. I mean, they're allowing less than 18 points a game this season. So as far as Nico Marchiol getting snaps, I mean, unless Neal plans to have his team up by 35 in the fourth quarter or something, I really don't understand how you factor in Nico in this, because you want to win this game. But I as far as what I think is, we will see JT Daniels, and maybe he will start the game, but by no means is he going to take all the snaps or even a majority of the snaps.
Yeah. I mean, what this tells me when he brought up Marchiol's name is, okay, something's got to be up with JT, because the last 2 weeks of JT Daniels is nowhere near the JT Daniels that we saw the first 7-8 games of the year. So if you take that into consideration, plus the fact that he says that, hey, Nico's going to get some reps throughout the week, to me that signifies like, hey, there might be something wrong with JT health-wise, and we're just not knowing about it. And he probably won't say anything about it, because why would he? And we know how injuries are in college football. They're very protected. They never really say what's going on. They just say, yes, this guy's hurt. Where the NFL, they go, yeah, this dude's left pinky, the third digit on his left pinky is kind of sore right now. Like they go extremely detailed with that in the NFL, even in the NBA. But when it comes to college sports, it's very, very, very minimalized as to how much we really know. So I think there could be something wrong with JT Daniels. He's had injury history throughout his time in college football. Maybe that's why he's been off. But to me, yeah, I think they're going to start JT Daniels, and I wouldn't be shocked if they start Garrett Greene. I'll put it that way. But to me, the way I think of it is, this is senior weekend, right? JT Daniels can come back for another year, but let's be honest. Is he really going to come back for another year? I'm not saying he's going to go to the NFL draft and be a second or third round pick. We all know that it's probably like back of the draft, maybe even undrafted free agent. But if you're JT Daniels, what more do you have to prove at this point that's going to really solidify your draft stock to being that day 2 pick? Like, I don't think there's much out there that he can do. Why risk another injury when you already have enough film out there? The IQ is off the charts. Like, it makes sense for, if I was JT, just to go ahead and put my hat in the ring for the NFL draft. If I get drafted, great. If not, great. I can get signed somewhere as an undrafted free agent. I would expect JT Daniels to start, and if things go south quickly, don't expect Neal Brown to wait very long to put Garrett Greene in. That's just my hunch. As for what I think they should do, start Garrett Greene. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? I mean, the guy just led you to your first win over Oklahoma since joining the Big 12, and was just an absolute spark. Both in the passing game and in the running game. I think you got to start Garrett Greene. But realizing the situation, I mean, Neal Brown, he's coaching for his job here. He's going to go with the guy that's got more experience, got more. I guess that's it. Just the guy that's got more experience and the guy that you can count on more to get the job done, and that would be JT Daniels.
You raise a really good point that is more in line with the bigger picture. What does the landscape look? What does it look like for JT after this season? What does he do? Does he come back? Does he go put his hat in the ring for the draft? Does he maybe transfer to another school? It's you got a couple different doors that he could venture into. Talk about what we think they'll do. Trying to predict what hand Neal plays. I think they should start. I think they should start Garrett Greene, because you've got 2 games left. You win these 2 games, you're bowl eligible. And then depending on the draw in the bowl game, let's say you win your 7 games, win with a bowl win. Season's not a roaring success, but by no means is it a Hindenburg, right?
Yeah.
Gives you momentum going into next year. Garrett Greene brought a lot of spark last week. It was almost instant. It was evident. I think if you're able to capture lightning in a bottle, if you're able to grab some energy that you didn't have before, exhaust that energy, ride it till it's gone.
Yeah.
Especially because, to your point, this is senior day. This is last home game of the year. You win at home, and then you close out the season on the road against Oklahoma State, who has by and large had West Virginia's number since 2012 joining the conference. I mean, that's a great way to close out the season against 2 teams that you're not favored against. I think they should start Garrett Greene. Obviously, if Garrett Greene goes in there and the magic from last week doesn't translate, then you go back to JT and hope that he's, rediscovered his rhythm. But I think you play your hot hand. And right now, in my mind, the guy that gives you the best chance to win is the guy that came in and won the game for you last week against Oklahoma.
Yeah, so we'll see what Neal Brown does. We may see both quarterbacks. We may see actually all 3 quarterbacks if Nico fits into the mix somehow. If you're playing a true freshman quarterback who's technically your 3rd-string quarterback in game 11, you've got some problems. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. West Virginia, Kansas State, senior day this Saturday at 2:00 kickoff will be televised on ESPN+. We've got an action-packed week for you still. It's Wednesday night, I know, but we still got a lot coming for you. We've got the Walkthrough Game Day show tomorrow at 6:00 with Eugene and myself. Friday, we'll have the Mountaineers Now post-game show. Christopher Hall will be joining me for that. And then Eugene will be back with me on Saturday for the Mountaineers Now post-game show for the football game. So basketball game Friday, football game Saturday, a lot coming to you here on the Mountaineers Now channel. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Mountaineers Now, and follow us on Twitter at Mountaineers Now as well. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.